Right, so very excited to be talking to you here, Mr. Nicholas Turturro. But I just want to start out here. Your acting career has encompassed really like a wide range of genres. Drama, comedy, to horror, even getting into animation, things like that. So, did you begin your professional career with kind of a specific path in mind, like an actor whose career you wanted to emulate, or did you always feel you could just kind of play whatever role came your way?
Well, actually, when I first started out as a kid, a little bit, I was a musical theater guy. Um,
Oh,
I was in Guys and Dolls in high school, and I played Nathan Detroit. And I used to sing before that as a young kid. I used to emulate, not emulate, but I used to listen to Frank Sinatra records, and I taught myself how to sing. So everybody in my family said, "Oh, he's a singer. He's a singer." And so I had, then I studied a little bit and I sang in a choir. And then my brother John directed me when I was a kid in Oliver. I played the Artful Dodger. So I didn't really have a direct, a real path, but I like to perform. And then I always knew, even when I got started in drama, that I had a good comedic sense. And kind of knew that I kind of had that in a way, but I never really developed it I mean, I wasn't looking to be a comedian, but I kind of knew I had some of that natural timing. And so it was never like, well, I want to be this or just that. I just, wanted to try everything, I guess. But when I think about it, you're right. I've kind of played all kinds of stuff, and it's from crazy guys, tough guys, to funny, goofy dudes that I like too.
yeah,
So
well, yeah, in that vein, it does feel like you always bring much more to your roles than like a simple basic character description would, give the audience an idea of, oh, it's this kind of character. And then you see you play it. It's like, oh, okay. So how do you approach taking a character kind of like your nervous defense lawyer Call Her King, and making it your own? Is it always just a little bit of you in there, or do you like to come up with specific quirks?
I think it's a combination. I think you kind of hit it on the head that it's a little bit of me, and then it's a little bit of the character. So it's always like there's always a part of you in whatever you do. So I never abandon that. And then within that, I think you become, with using yourself, you become whoever that guy is, and try to make always a lot out of sometimes nothing, not nothing, but make more than. And that's true for even on NYPD Blue. I was a young guy, and one of the showrunners told me, I told him to hire you because you made a lot out of nothing, and I did that with The Longest Yard. That was nothing on paper, and then Adam kept adding stuff for me, and it became, from a small part, it became a really like memorable role. And even with NYPD Blue, I mean, with a lot of other things, I've, roles that are not huge, but I've made an impact. And so I think that's, when I look back on my career, I probably am most proud of that. Most proud of that. I've always, whether it's one scene or three scenes or four scenes. I mean, even in the Black Klansman, I was pretty, and people were like, "You were really good in just a couple of scenes," but I show up at the end of the movie, and then I go from that to like, to something comedic or whatever.
Well,
But
yeah, what's interesting, speaking of Spike Lee and working with him, you've done quite a few films with him, and in NYPD Blue, Blue Bloods, you're always being cast as a cop, right? You're always somebody who they think so.
it seems that way. But I've played, a share amount of cops, and now I'm getting to, I'm being known as like a guy who could come in and be comedic. So
Right.
I'm sort of like the comic relief. When I read this script, I thought it was an okay script, but I saw when I read it, oh, this guy he could be the comic relief. That's what I saw. I may not always be right what they want, but I think that's exactly what within a drama, and needed somebody that could be not funny, ha ha, but funny in a way of, and the difference is, I think when you're a good actor, and if you're grounded, you can be even more comedic, because like you'll take some comedians who never really become good actors. Some do, some make that transition, like Adam, but there are some guys that they never really crossed over into becoming good comedic actors as well as comedians. So, because it's two different things. So I think when you could act and you're funny, say take somebody like Joe Pesci. I mean, Joe Pesci is a really, really good actor, and he's really, really funny. So he could do. I probably have played more goofy guys than him, but he is somebody that is a good actor and very funny. And I mean, I just think it's turned out that way. And people have said, "Wow, you can act and you're funny." Like when I was on NYPD Blue, those guys didn't know. I mean, they got to know me, and I think if they got to know me, maybe they could have let me be. I played the straight guy on that show. I mean,
Yeah.
Gordon Clapp was given all the funny because he played a guy that stuttered and all this stuff, and so I had to play like, in a lot of ways, I thought they could have utilized that more. But I played it like, Bud Abbott, and he was Costello, and so I was the straight guy. But then when I was on David Letterman, everybody was like, "Oh boy, you didn't even know you were funny," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I knew it, but you still got to be given a chance to show, what you could do." Then, like in Blue Bloods, I was older, and I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to do more. I would have liked to, but they went in a different direction. But that character, why it was such a good character, I think, was that he was been around the block as a cop, and I played a lot of cops. And I just like, for whatever reason, they came up to me early on. They said, "We're not writing it funny, but it's coming out that way. And if you get that, if you're smart enough to understand that, you go, wow, I got gold here. I got somebody here that I didn't even write it funny, and he's making it funny. Not that I was making it a joke, but out of the situations comes comedic stuff, even with cops. And I think there was one producer there, top guy, whatever. I don't think he ever understood what I was doing, because there was some producers that said they don't even get how good you are or what you're doing, And I said, yeah, it's their loss, because they have nobody remotely funny, because they just don't have those kind of people there. And where you could take the material, and I was eating pizza and it was funny. I was eating a hot dog and I made a whole thing with the guy. And it was, I really enjoyed doing that, to have a guy who was, you're a police officer, you're a cop, but there's a lot of funny cops. There's a lot of funny, and that's what the guys are. They're not all like so serious. It's got to be so cop like, because they're not all like that. And that cop Renzulli was actually very funny, in a very in a real way, in a real way.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I have to imagine that by being able to, whether it was in The Longest Yard, if you consider that a big breakout comedically, but to show people in that way, that has to have like also extended your career in so many ways, because if people see you only play a dramatic character over and over again, that kind of gets old. But when they know, oh, we can fit him in here, we can fit him in here, did you feel like that really like allowed you to work more than maybe you would have if you were just doing straight drama?
Yeah, I think it did. I mean, I think it did to a certain degree. Would I've liked it to have been more? I think in a lot of ways I would like it to have been more, because I had two comedic pilots, one with the WB, one with CBS, my own show, that after NYPD Blue, I developed them, and then missed getting on the air by a hair a few times, and I thought that would have really blown me up comedically. So the world never got to see that. They never got to see my own show. They never got to see my pilots. Even to this day, we've been developing something, me and my son, that are very, very funny. So I was a big TV guy when I was a little kid. And, I love the Honeymooners and the Odd Couple. So I like the real comedic. I think I have good taste in the kind of comedies that I like. So my quality or my taste, I think, is good. All in the Family. I watched, you got to remember, I watched great, great things. I've been influenced by great people, my brother, by great movies. All these things that I've watched, I've went to school on. I think you've learned, I'm a student and a fan, and I've never lost that being a fan. I'm not somebody that's comedic, and I've seen other people that, well, you're really funny or this or that. They're kind of threatened by you, and you're not given always the opportunity. So, like I say, I mean, I was a big always fan, sports fan, huge sports guy, especially baseball. So my love for all that stuff, I think, has definitely influenced me in the things that you've been inspired by. Not that I uh, imitated anybody, but that you're inspired by all these things, and that's what kind of drove me to wanting to perform. Or and I mean, when I've seen other people, great people I've worked with, I've been like, wow, he's good. Like, this guy is like, this is, it gets you pumped up. It gets you like, I gotta I gotta bring it now. I gotta bring it. And and I have. And I know that I could, I know that I could hold my own with anybody. um I know that if I, go toe to toe with great people, I could bring it. I remember years ago I had an audition with Billy Crystal, and he brought me back. And I think on some level, I don't know, he was like, "Oh boy, you're funny," and he's like, "Can you improvise?" And when a guy like that says it, but at the same time, I felt like maybe he doesn't want somebody here funnier than him.
Yeah,
Maybe,
very possible. Because I could
I don't,
definitely see you guys with similar energies on screen
yeah,
together, yeah.
and I'm not trying to outdo you. I'm just, I'm just doing me. I'm just being me, and you know, if that makes sense. But like I said, getting back to, if I had, like I said, if one of my shows or pilots had gone, and even though the world knows me, and especially from Sandler, I mean, comically, everybody's like, got to know me. I think in the industry, I haven't been used enough. Um, I haven't been given as much as, like, you get in some kind of clubs. And I've never worked with the Judd Apatows. I've never worked with a lot of these great comedic groups that I feel like I could, easily jump in and do anything. Like I like watch this guy Danny McBride, and his comedy is like insane, and I love it. Even though he's like a hillbilly, I feel like, um, I definitely, my sensibility is strong, and I know what I like, and I know what I think is funny and it's not. I think I have a good sense of comedy. And I did put a little bit of that in this movie, and then there's another movie coming out, high school dramedy, but they needed somebody comedic, and I did a really comedic role. And unfortunately, I wish the movie was more funny, because I was trying to tell these kids, it needs to be funnier, not violent.
Mm.
But they don't want to listen.
Well, and closing out here, just talking about Collar King, it's being promoted kind of like Die Hard in a courtroom. That's kind of like the tagline they're using. But do you think it has more to offer audiences than just like action and drama in a lockdown setting? Like, what
I
what
think
was
it
your
does.
take on it?
I think it does. I think I haven't seen the whole thing, but I think it's well acted and well executed, that it's more than just Die Hard. I think there's some good performances in there, some really good actors on the screen. So I hope they look at it more than just, Die Hard in a courtroom. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but
I have. Yeah.
few people have really liked it and have said. And I like the filmmaker. He's really he's another guy that it seems like he makes a lot out of you know, not nothing, but he makes a lot. He makes a full meal out of the material. So I dug working with him, and like I said, the material was okay, but I think we definitely made it a lot better. So I mean, it seems like everybody's sort of excited about it, and so it's good that you could do something good in it, something being well received, and because a lot of times you do something good and then people don't really, like that project, and you're like, shit. I was like, I did something. I did as much as I could do, but the whole movie was whatever, a disappointment or something. I
Yeah, well, I
mean,
will tell you once again, it's been the theme of our interview here that you always do a little bit more. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say you have a very awesome way of killing somebody in this movie that has a setup and it pays off later and it's hilarious. So,
yeah,
like, if
I
nothing
know. I mean,
else, go for that moment.
I know I don't want to give it away, but
Yeah.
and I'm not, but the guy I was working with, he does action movies. I call him Johnny Steaks, good guy, Johnny Messner, and because all he does is eat steak, and which is true. When he eats steak, all he's on some kind of steak diet. So yeah, but like, man, I think that's the whole thing, man. You gotta make a lot out of. I just did a sitcom with John Cryer. I mean, I don't know if it's not going to air until the fall, and they might bring me back. And I had one big scene, but this guy Michael Malley, the showrunner, like was like, wow, he loved it because he was like, you made a big impact, and and I was like a nervous wreck because it was live, and I haven't done that in a while, but I did do two sitcoms years ago that I was telling you about, and I thrive off. But I'm older now, so I was a little frantic, and like I'm so AD, my memory is not as sharp, but I have that, I think, ability to do that kind of that that kind of stuff. The sitcom world I like, and it was definitely a high doing that in front of an audience. I was really wow. I was definitely like I got off on doing it in a lot of ways more than just a drama.
Yeah, well, here's hoping more of those opportunities come your way
Yeah,
the way you're hoping for. And thank you so much for your time. It was great.
sure, sure.
All
But
right.
nice talking to you, Adam.
Yeah, enjoy
Take
your
care.
grandson. Have a good
And
one.
I'm glad you liked the movie. It seems like you did like it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was
cool.
fun. Yeah.
All right.
All right, see ya.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye.